You should eat it. It's your special snack bag.
Okay.
All right, you can hand it over. He chuckled, and you fish out some granola and gummy candies. Derek held out his hand, and you carefully dropped the snacks into his palm. Thanks. He popped one of the tiny oat clusters into his mouth and started chewing. You decided to pull out your own snacks. You wanted to eat and share your own snacks with Derek. You offered Derek some of your own snacks. You left your snacks in your pocket. No, I'm going to offer some of my own snacks. Want some? You held out your baggie in place where you could just pour it out for Derek if he said yes. His eyes lit up in amusement, and he considered your snacks. But he winked at you, a clear sign of the clownery to come.
Sorry.
No, those are your snacks. You gotta eat them. You laughed. Turnabout was fair play. You'd refused him, so he'd refused you. Both of you leisurely enjoyed the time. Derek ate away at the granola, peppering the air with soft crunching noises. You quietly let him savor his food. The other reason why I didn't want to take the fruit snacks is because I didn't eat all of my snacks. I still had plenty in my bag. I only took one handful. So I still had plenty of fruit snacks. I'm not going to take his fruit snacks if I already had them. If anything, I was going to take something that wasn't in my bag, but that wasn't an option. The munching and high-pitched snoring served as the only sounds between you for a while. You passed Derek the last cluster of granola. You had to really try to get it out of the bag around all the cereal and walnut chunks. He accepted it with great enthusiasm and took his final bites. He swallowed, satisfied. He absent-mindedly patted Nicholas's head as he peered up and down the street. Something caught his eye and he lit up. You know, I was so focused before I kind of forgot where we were. This is still the boardwalk. He was as excited as he had been towards the beginning of the day.
Let's go.
Want to walk around? There's a lot of interesting stuff here, even if we're only looking. Sure, I feel like strolling. Maybe I'd even get a good saunter on. Derek gave you a thumbs up and, that Nicholas. Can you help me move him to my back? That'll be easier for a long haul. How about I pick him up? Wait a minute. I want to pick him up. I'm taller than you. I'm pretty sure I can handle it. You stood up to help. It took both of you fumbling around, but with effort you were able to get the little boy comfortably on Derek's back. This is so sweet and so... The game needs to let me offer to carry Nicholas too. I would have done that a long time ago, honestly. I would have done that ways back. Even like when we were on our way back to the roller coaster to meet up with George and Elizabeth, I would have offered that at some point. Then you left the bench behind to explore the bustling waterfront park. Oh, we're going to the water park. When the sun's not even like at the highest point and it's probably a little bit cooler. Okay, Derek. This is for Derek. This is for Derek. Without consciously deciding to, you gravitated the edge of the path closest to the sea. I definitely would not necessarily have done that. You studied the beautiful ocean, your breath almost taken away by how the water sparkled under the last flickers of sunlight. The evening remained pleasantly warm despite the encroaching darkness. Your skin felt hot under your face paint. The paint had started to crack after its long exposure to the elements. Is it normal for Nicholas to fall asleep like this? Kind of. Sometimes something is so exciting that Nicholas bounces off the walls just imagining it. By the time he actually gets there, he's already burnt himself out. I'm pretty sure Nico didn't sleep at all last night because he knew today was going to be Boardwalk Day. Oh, that's cute. Oh, that stinks that he's missing this. Will he be upset that he slept through the day when he wakes up? I used to do that when I was little. You not understand, like, oh, that stinks that he's missing this. I promise he'll be alright. Nico isn't great at imagining what he might have done if things went different. He lives in the moment. Well, that's good for him. So as long as he wakes up on his own, he won't be a grouchy monster. Your parents should give you a raise. I hope George and Elizabeth are having a good time. I hope Nicholas is at least having good dreams. You stayed quiet and continued observing. Your parents should give you a raise. I don't think it works like that, but it would be cool if they did. Walking down the boardwalk was peaceful. The conversation was easy with the occasional giggle. Other groups of people passed by, couples, young friend groups, and families with children all bustled about. You caught slivers of conversations ranging from the mundane to philosophical. Derek glanced at the faces around him and grinned to himself. It kind of feels like we're parents and this is our kid. Whoa! So is this is also interesting. I can see Derek as being a kind of person who wants to be a dad and who really wants to have a kid. Versus Cove, I think, based on the wedding DLC, I felt like Cove was open to being a parent. I think that he would be willing to be a parent if my character wanted to be a parent, but I don't know if he necessarily would have decided that on his own. Versus Derek, who's like, I really feel like he wants to have kids someday. So again, another reason why I do believe deeply that Derek is probably a better fit for me over Cove. He twisted around to show you Nicholas with amusement. You're right. Oh yeah, our next trip should be to a wedding chapel. Yeah, I'm glad he's actually not my kid. Yeah, you blushed to short respond. It'd be nice if that was true. You're right. Oh yeah, our next trip should be to a wedding chapel. I am definitely like not being shy around Derek. I want to be very direct with him. I'm not gonna dance around and BS with him unless I have to. I'm just gonna be like straight up. Oh yeah, our next trip should be to a wedding chapel. Ah, I bet that would be fun. Nicholas could be the ring bearer. He doesn't even flinch. If it was Cove, he would have flinched. Would he stay awake for it? Maybe, maybe not. You both laughed at the absurdity. I love how confident he is. There's just something about that I find very sexy. Now, granted, I do find shyness and humility attractive to a point. And I also don't like confidence to the point that it's arrogance. There's a fine line between confidence and arrogance. And I don't feel that arrogance at all with Derek. 100% not. As he led you down the boardwalk, you noticed a new skip in his step. He might like that notion of us getting married someday. Hey, I have an idea. Let's go to Vegas. Let's get married now. No, not gonna happen. Let's ride the Ferris wheel. I called it. We've officially given up on getting our parents, and even Nico can do that. Yeah, that'd be perfect. You're a genius. How high is it? Is it safe? You nod excitedly. That'd be perfect. Derek let out a whoop and turned around like it was a little happy dance. You laughed, charmed by his enthusiasm. We totally are going Love Simon on this. If you keep that up, you're gonna wake the sleeping dragon there. Even if I did, we'd drag him to the wheel anyways. That'd rock him back to sleep. You smirked. Derek had an answer for everything. You both eagerly made your way through the crowd to get in line for the one ride that was an option for you. Derek cautiously weaved past people, making sure no one accidentally bumped into Nicholas on the way. The line was short, and it didn't take long for you to start boarding the ride. You piled into the cabin, and Derek placed Nicholas in the corner of the metal bench. He sat next to him. Nicholas snuffled when he was jostled, but didn't awake. Derek wrapped his arm around him to secure him from falling forward. Nicholas unconsciously leaned on his head over to rest on him. You rested on the bench across from them, eye to eye with Derek. It felt sturdy under you. Derek's grin widened when he tapped his toes together as he waited for the ride to start. Right, because he's shorter, which I find very cute. And it did. The carriage car rocked forward. Slowly, you ascended into the sky. You could see the entire expanse of the boardwalk from the cabin. It was an amazing sight. From this height, the stalls and decorations looked like a magical land of toys. You glanced at Derek, curious if he was enjoying the view too. I'm sure my character is enjoying the view. The sun had continued to sink as the Ferris wheel rose, and the light that reached inside the cabin through the little window was low. Sharp-edged shadows cut across Derek's body. He stopped shuffling his feet and switched to tapping a finger against the top of his knee in a jittery, uneven beat. With Nicholas still sound asleep, it felt like you were alone with Derek. In the small space high in the air, with no one else anywhere around, you made one more attempt to get Derek to be open with you. If he wouldn't do it now, then when would he? All right, Derek, there's no escape now. You're gonna have to tell me what's up. You began to list your points of concern, and the whole thing sounded even more unreasonable when said in a single sentence. You got the face paint Nicholas wanted, you picked out snacks for other people, you gave up your own chance to have fun today so our parents could go on a bike ride. Why don't you do things for yourself? He shrunk under the accusation like the walls were bending in on him. Well, it's not like I can't ever do things for me. I do sometimes. You weren't convinced and spelled out that with the furrow of your brow and the tight line of your mouth. So this is why I like that he is selfless and he does things for other people, which is why he needs a partner who is willing to do things for him, you know? My character could do things for Derek so he can continue doing things for other people. Derek acted the scolded child and hung his head in shame, but he felt compelled to fill the uncomfortable silence your reaction had left. It's easier to do things for other people than try to fight for something just for me, and that makes everything easier for other people too. It's an interesting way to look at it. You almost spoke out in his defense to declare that he should stand up for what he needed, but you held it back. Derek was finally expressing himself, and you didn't want to interrupt. He rambled on, trying to sort out his thoughts and arrange the words in a way that made sense to both you and himself. I like thinking about the people I love. I really seriously do like doing stuff that makes them happy. I don't want to have to stop doing any of that. And I would not discourage him. That's the thing, I would never discourage him from doing that. Because I think he's been okay. Especially if he has somebody, somebody important in his life who's watching out for him, so he can watch out for other people. Derek tightened his hands into his fist. His words were earnest, and he directed them straight towards you, with unwavering eye contact. I mean it, even though it's annoying sometimes. Annoying for me and whoever tries to stick with me. However, as true as it was, his resolutions fizzled out almost immediately. Derek timidly sunk down in his seat. He brushed his little brother's bangs away from his closed eyes. It was a nervous momentary distraction. Nicholas offered him some emotional support just by being there. When Derek spoke again, it was in a tiny voice. But maybe part of me is sort of hoping that, instead of having to do more for myself and less for others, somebody would try to do things for me too. Then it'd be even. See? This is why my character and Derek, I think, are perfect. They are perfect. He is exactly... And I love how he recognized that, right? He's very mature. Derek is very mature and self-aware. He is willing to say that it'd be great if somebody else could take care of him so that he can continue taking care of other people, because he genuinely does love doing that. He genuinely enjoys doing that. And who am I to, discourage doing something that he does love to do? Even if it might be at the expense of his own happiness sometimes. But he still gets a lot of happiness. I think the thing is, he gets more joy and happiness from making other people happy than he does making himself happy. And if that's the case, why would I tell him not to do that? I would accept that, because that is part of who he is, And I see nothing wrong with it, especially if he has somebody to take care of him. Derek shifted shyly. His head was still low, but his gaze shifted up to you. It's kind of like a dream or something that I've got. Oh, Derek, I just want to give you a hug. And if I'm not doing that for anyone else, how am I going to find someone who'll do it for me? I can't ask for that stuff that not even I'd want to give. Your eyebrows shot up, but the rest of your body froze in place. Derek turned his face towards the window. It wasn't enough to cover the way his cheeks had reddened. My family cares about me, obviously, but a lot of the time that's the thing I need help with. With a laugh, Derek liberally tousled the hair of the beloved pain in his side who laid there, the youngest brother remaining blissfully unaware of the trouble he caused. The humor in his tone left Derek as quickly as it had appeared. He couldn't get away from how serious the topic was, or how it truly meant to him. It'd be cool to have somebody who was on my side and who liked me because of me, not because they're family and are supposed to love me. The writing for this game, come on. How can you not love Derek? Come on. How can you not love him? Cove is great, and I know there's so many people out there who love Code, but Derek, for me personally, is at a whole nother level. And I recognize that from the beginning. Totally recognize that from the beginning. For a single instant, his eyes met yours, but then he has instantly focused on the world outside the scuffed, clouded window of the old Ferris wheel. You could see a lopsided grin reflected in the glass. Don't tell my bros I imagined some pretty dumb things. It's not dumb. That's normal and nice. I promise this will stay just between us. You do have that. I'm here for whenever you need it. I'm sure that dream will come true for you. You smiled reassuringly. You do have that. I'm here for whenever you need it. Need that. Ah, thanks. The foggy face you could make out in the window pane trembled. He wasn't ready to show it directly, but you were glad you still got a glimpse of it. He grasped the top of one knee and took in a deep breath through his nose. When he exhaled, he carefully laid out a few more words for consideration. Hey, Hark, is there somebody that you think... Without thinking, you leaned forward towards him. You were hanging on his words like the cabin you were seated in was suspended from the wheel. But he never placed the last part. Never mind, forget it. Oh. You can ask me anything if you want to. No, you can't leave it there. You're killing me, you joked. Wait, I want to know what you were going to say. It's alright, you can tell me later. You stared at him in confusion. Wait, I want to know what... I'm not even going to be like, you can ask me anything you want to. No, I'm going to be aggressive. I am going to be this is not... I'm going to... This is where I'm going to be a little bit more proactive and aggressive. Wait, I want to know what you were going to say. Sorry, but don't worry about that. It was just this idea I've been kicking around, but I should probably think about it a lot more. Besides, Derek shrugged an arm and cocked his head down to the extra bit of company who was still gently snoring. It's kind of awkward to talk about all this personal stuff with my baby brother right here, even if he is asleep. He chuckled good-naturedly, moving his hand to scratch behind his ear. Maybe I can try again later. He's gonna make me play the long game. He's gonna make me play 2 whole other steps. Fine. The back of his foot knocked against the lower wall of the outcropping metal seat on repeat. It sounded the end of that conversation, but that didn't mean nothing else was on his mind. Derek was always considering something, and most of the time it was other people. Things someone else might have missed or forgotten weren't taken for granted by him. Thanks for helping with the snacks before. That piece of appreciation was given easily. The next, though, was far meeker.
Thanks for coming with me.
My heart! My heart! You're welcome. It was nothing. Thanks for letting me come with you. Anytime, Derek, you gave him a thumbs up. Thanks for letting me come with you. This time Derek shared his bright and bashful face directly with you. You could always count on him, that was a certainty, and Derek knew that the sentiment was mutual. You would look out for him whether he did it for himself or not, whether he asked you to or not, and whether he wanted you to or not. That was just as sure. Not much more was said before the ride came to its steady, inevitable end. You disembarked from the cabin with Nicholas securely in Derek's arms. I feel very jealous of Nicholas right now. He strolled from the exit to the nearest stall to ask the employee what time it was. 8 p.m. was quickly approaching. We better go to the meetup place. Can you help me get Nico on my back up again? How about I carry him now? Thank you! Why didn't I ask this sooner? How about I carry him now? Oh. Instinctively, Derek pulled back. He clung tighter to his youngest brother, keeping the weight of that burden squarely on himself. You waited, calm and stable. Ultimately, the tension in his face and the hesitancy in his heart faded, and he accepted your offer graciously. That'd actually be great. Thanks, Hark. Derek shifted his grip on Nicholas before he propped the small boy over your shoulders. You tucked your elbows around Nico's knees and hunched over so he wouldn't slip off. Nicholas draped heavily on your back like a fluffy, car-patterned cape. He really wasn't that heavy, but you could easily imagine how carrying that extra load could get tiresome after a while. Derek definitely needed a break. Perfect. Together you wandered across the path. The people surrounding you were full of enthusiasm, bustling from ride to ride and store to store. But a quiet peace had settled between you and Derek. Your day at the Boardwalk was already coming to an end. The sky had gone completely dark by the time you reached the meeting spot, but the world around you was still awash with light. Street lamps bore down on you while spotlights shot upwards to illuminate the biggest rides. You and Derek huddled at the side of the path. You wanted to stay out of the way of other visitors who were trickling off to the parking lot and the ones who were rushing the opposite way for a last-minute excursion on the Boardwalk. You hoped the strangers enjoyed themselves, but for you and Derek, plus the sleeping Nicholas, there was nowhere to go. At least not until you caught sight of your currently missing family members. We beat them. Good for us. We win. You used the brakes as an opportunity to readjust Nicholas. He'd started to slide a bit during the trip over. Since there were only 2 awake members of your group, you both wordlessly kept your eyes peeled. Even every figure approaching in the distance was scrutinized and then disregarded as just another stranger. That process repeated for a few minutes, but eventually 2 shadowed forms coming down the path stepped under a light and you immediately recognized them. George! Elizabeth! Derek jumped and waved his hands over his head. He was entirely free to draw attention to himself, but that way thanks to you taking over piggybacking Nicholas. Even on the other end of the Boardwalk, you could tell Elizabeth was smirking. When Derek's... Oh, Elizabeth got her face painted with a golf ball, it looks like. When Derek's brother and your sister rejoined you in the first stall, you were proven right. She definitely had a leering smirk. It's very cute that you're taking a turn with a precious baby. Ha! Derek barked out a laugh. Elizabeth's smile wasn't the only notable thing on her face, and even Derek wasn't polite enough to let her get away with it. Maybe, but what's that on your forehead? The oldest kid hadn't returned exactly the same way he left her. She now had a bright white golf ball emblazoned on her skin with a non-toxic, water-soluble paint. So much for not needing something like that. After just a small huff, Elizabeth plainly laid out her case. George and I talked a little about sports we liked. When I told him I did golf, he suggested I get a face paint of that. I did, and it was fun. Her chin was high, and she spoke with defiance. Elizabeth absolutely refused to be embarrassed by her change of mind. Fine by me. George stood at your sister. I'm actually kind of proud of Elizabeth for doing that. George stood at your sister's side and proudly took credit for the accomplishment. I actually am thinking that this experience and Derek has been a very good influence on Elizabeth. I think so. She didn't want to do it before because she was just being an Eliza-brat. Thank you, George. Huh?
Nice try.
I totally ship George and Elizabeth. If I'm shipping myself, my character with Derek, I totally ship Elizabeth and George. Better than being a Borge. George and Elizabeth chuckled at the quips. Apparently they had unique nicknames for one another now. It left Derek nearly speechless. Wow. Clearly you and Derek weren't the only ones who went through a bonding experience this evening. I'm glad you had fun. I feel like I'm being replaced, you joked. That's so cute, Eliza-brat. It's sweet you're getting along. You smiled in relief that everything went well. It's sweet you're getting along. What else did you think would happen? You could easily imagine your sister being unable to mesh with a kid like George, but someone beat you to the punch when it came to saying it out loud. That you'd act too good for George and make him sad?
Rude.
Well, that's rude and it didn't happen. And that's why it's sweet. Lighthearted laughter drifted around the group. Yeah, I can see Elizabeth easily doing that to most people. But maybe there's something about George? Maybe there's something about George that made Elizabeth think twice to do that. Lighthearted laughter drifted around the group. Whether you were divided up or all together, the Suarez and Angel kids enjoyed each other's company. Your sister then exhaled calmly and followed it with a sage nod. I'll take Nicholas now. Oh, now that's... See? Derek is rubbing off on Elizabeth. Character development. Don't you love that? Whether Derek was going to agree or disagree with the offer, he didn't know, but Elizabeth didn't give him the chance. She wasn't suggesting what he thought she was. We've got like 10 or 15 minutes left. The two of you should use it. What? You want us to leave? You want us to leave him with you? Uh-huh. Derek took a hesitant step back and turned his face away. Let's go to the roller coaster! Roller coaster's so awesome in the middle of the dark! Derek took a hesitant step back and turned his face away. His expression tensed in the same way it had when he first realized Nico was going to be asleep for the rest of the trip. Nicholas is going to be mad if I'm not there. The resistance was a weak mumble, and his middle brother spoke with much more boldness. Nicholas isn't going to know, and what he doesn't know won't kill him. George? Derek was at a loss on where that had come from. So now I'm going to step in and take care of Derek and say, dude, this is an awesome opportunity. It's only 15 minutes, bruh. Just take it. Derek was at a loss on where that had come from. You hadn't expected it either. George was never the rule bender. You must have missed even more than you thought during his time with Elizabeth. Derek, let's go for it. Come on, Boric. Live a little. I don't know. You two are my heroes. We gotta go, Derek. Will there really be time for that before parents get here? You sound worried. Come on, Boric. Live a little. I didn't think that nickname works as well for me as it does for George. That's besides the point. See, even your darling Hark. See, even Elizabeth is realizing it. Even your darling Hark wants you to stop being such a goody two-shoes for a single second. Go have fun for Pete's sake. Yeah, hurry. You have to do stuff at the boardwalk while we're at the boardwalk. He shyly scuffed his sneakers on the ground with a doe-eyed expression that was more expected from Nicholas. It was exceedingly rare for anyone to tell Derek what the plan was. He was used to coming up with all the ideas and taking charge. Derek glanced at you. It was impossible not to smile at him. All right. I'll do it. Then we're doing it. Finally. There was a quick passing of the buck as Elizabeth took Nicholas into her hands. She carefully positioned his head against her shoulder and cradled his legs under her forearms. Derek found the hold satisfactory and entrusted his youngest brother to her the same way he'd let her borrow the responsibility of watching out for George. No more time was wasted. You shot off down the boardwalk one more time. The flow of traffic had shifted even more from when you'd started waiting, with everyone except for you moving towards the exit. You pushed against the tide into the heart of the park. You were sprinting hand in hand. You were sprinting side by side. Heck no. Hand in hand. The two of you had reached for the other on instinct in the heat of the chase, neither wanting to be separated in the crowd and both yearning to be as close as possible. Dang straight! Your feet and heart were beating hard. Derek shouted over the sound in a breathless, thrilled voice. The lines are all going to be short this late, but I don't think we can do two. Which one do you want to do? Or we don't have to go on a ride at all. Would you be up for riding the Ferris wheel again? Let's hit the roller coaster. How about we get a treat? I want to do what you want to do. I want to go on the roller coaster. I feel like Derek's going to want to do the roller coaster. So I'm going to say, I want to do what you want to do. Could we do the roller coaster? What do I tell you? Match made in heaven. Match made. We got to play the newlywed game right now. Derek and I, come on now. We are on the same wavelength. I was like, I'll do what you want to do. I'm hoping you're going to pick roller coaster, but we'll do what you want to do. Derek was like, can we do the roller coaster? Heck to the yes. Oh, I love Derek so much. Did I mention that? I love Derek so much. Definitely. All right. The joy in his cheer betrayed how disappointed he must have really been to miss out on the roller coaster before. He had put on a brave face before, and in the end, the chance to get his due reward, you would make certain that he got on that ride. You and Derek sped straight to your goal. You couldn't help but tilt your head back every so often as the roller coaster looped closer. See, this is how I'm helping him, is because he instinctively will ask, what do you want to do? And I will like challenge him back and be like, oh no, no, that's not how this works. What do you want to do, Derek? What do you want to do? As Derek had theorized, the line wasn't even half the length it was for most of the day. It only took a few minutes before you were on the platform and waiting your ride. And even better, you got the very front seats on the roller coaster. Yeah, I love being at the front seat of the roller coaster in the middle of the night with very little light. Oh, it's so fun. You jumped into the cart along with Derek and pulled the safety bar down in front of you. He was bursting with anticipation, so the restraints were especially useful. A clicking sound like the winding of a clock chimed out, and the ride began its gradual climb upward. It reached the summit, and after an appropriately stomach-tightening pause, it rolled over the edge. Cool summer air rushed over your face and whipped your hair as you descended at breakneck speed. Derek threw his arms in the air as he squealed in delight. I'm very curious. It would be a really cool touch if you had mentioned earlier that you were not big into roller coasters, or you were afraid of roller coasters, or roller coasters made you nervous. It'd be really cool if they incorporated that into the scene, because maybe you would still ask, because I'm wondering if either A, you asked Derek what he wanted to do, and he would say, let's go on the roller coaster, and then during this moment, the dialogue would mention that you're a little nervous or you're a bit scared, but this is for Derek, you know? Or Derek would remember that you said that you didn't particularly care for roller coasters, and or they made you nervous, you know, or Derek would have remembered that and then would have not suggested doing the roller coaster, and he would have suggested something else like getting a treat. I feel like that would be a really cool touch. I don't know if that's how the developers did it, but I think that would have been a smart way to handle that, because not everybody likes to do roller coasters. Woo! You were jostled in your seat, vibrating with the motion of the coaster. Derek and you took turns knocking into the other around every bend. You both laughed every time. Yeah, right here, it would be really interesting is if you admitted that you didn't like roller coasters, if you were a little less enthusiastic about what was happening, but were happy that Derek was happy. When you came to a jarring stop back at the station, you lifted off the restraint together and made your exit down the other side of the ride. Derek ruffled his hands through his hair to straighten out his characteristic spikes. He was absolutely beaming on the way out. Derek stared at the sparkling stars beyond the glitz and clamor of the boardwalk. There was a peace between you that hadn't been there at any other moment during your trip.
Ew.
Hey. His eyes had stolen the shine from the cosmos when he placed his gaze back on you. It was way too awkward to talk about this before with my little brother right there, but I just want to say I really like hanging out with you, Hark. Ah, this is so cool. I love my brothers and parents a ton, and my other friends are great too, but when I have to pick someone to team up with, I think about you. Oh, he's so sweet. Oh, Derek. Such a sweetheart. He is mine. Derek is mine. No one else can have him. He shrugged his shoulders with a shy grin. Derek was someone you could count on for honesty, But sometimes it still surprised you what he was capable of. I think of you too. I'd partner with you anytime. You smiled back him. You flushed and looked away. Thank you. I can't get why you didn't admit that earlier, you joked.